and today I would like to take a look at and do a tutorial video on the HR1 GT8E conversion kit. Hi guys, Brett here from Hearns Hobbies, and today I would like to take a look at and do a tutorial video on the HR1 GT8E conversion kit. And that, my friend, is a mouthful. So, we've all seen the HR1 Buggy and how cool that is. We've seen it go around the velodrome. Now we're going to turn it into an on-road car, and we're going to take it, guess what, back to the velodrome. But we can also do speed runs with it. We could even take it circuit racing if we wanted to. GT8E is hugely popular, and Biddy Design do some really cool looking bodies as well. So it just shows how versatile the HR1 Buggy platform can be with this simple little conversion kit. All right, let's see what we get in the kit. So it's a nice little box here that we get, beautifully packaged up. Shows you there what we get in the conversion kit. So you pretty much just get a front shock tower, shocks, and body post bumper bar set, and the same on the rear shock tower, body post mount, and shocks and shock mounting hardware. Let's have a look at the kit itself. Look at that bumper foam, that's a whopper. Nice and big. Hopefully that's oversized so we can actually shape it to suit the various bodies that we'll be using. And what I've figured out, beautifully packaged parts. What I've figured out is that all the odd part numbers should be used in the rear assembly. So C10395, 9799 should all be rear, and 93, look at that shock package, hard anodized, whereas all the odd packet, all the even packets, 10392, 10394, 10396 should all be for the front end of the buggy. 98. So as long as we don't mess that up, we should be right. Get that little box out of the way, and let's have a look at our instruction sheet. Nice and simplistic. It gives you a full parts listing of exactly what we're working with. It's definitely not a step-by-step instruction, but join me as we get this together and see what we can do about turning this HR1 buggy into a GT8E. All right, put the instruction manual off to the side. Before we go any further, I suppose we should get the monster of a weapon that is the HR1. And I love this buggy. You can tell just the way I light up when it's around. I love using it. I love working on it. It's a beautiful thing. This has done some amazing work. Velodrome, on-road, off-road. It's definitely not new. It's seen some action, but it's so serviceable. Been rebuilt about 5 or 6 times, and it is weathering the storm of competition really nicely. So let's get this camera adjusted a little bit more. Let's get the wheels off and let's start turning it into a GT8E. Okay, start by taking the sweep wheels off. We won't be needing those in on-road trim. Put the wheel nuts on there just to ensure I don't lose them. The less hardware I have laying around my builds, I feel the better. So if I can keep it together, I can keep parts in situ. It saves me remembering where they are and how I have to put them back together. Really nice wheel nuts. We're keeping that axle and everything straight in there. Get that on. And apart from this conversion kit, what we're doing, this buggy is still stock as a rock. I think I might have changed the pinion a teeth or two, but that is it. The hardware is really good, all the plastic hardware on it, caster blocks and steering spindles. Okay, let's get to work on taking, where do we want to start? Let's start at the front. Let's start at taking the front shock tower off and the front camber link. So I'm going to need a 2.5 mil. I've got my 9 steps toolkit here. Now, I don't have all my tools that I'd love to use, but this should be enough here, this little toolkit that I've got. Take the inner camber link off. And we'll be reusing this camber link, I believe, so it's going to go straight onto the new shock tower. So I'm going to go ahead and put the nut there, hoping that I can reuse this after as I thumble it across the work surface. That said, if you notice, I'm working on this big blue sweep mat. I love this mat. It's really good, really hardy. It's seen some build, seen some action, this mat. Keeps coming back for more. Even with the 8 scale racing and stuff on it, takes an absolute hammering. Okay, beautiful hardware in the HR1. When you've got the pleasure, I've worked on many RC things, and you can really come to appreciate good quality nuts and bolts in the builds. Just makes a little bit difference. Get the top of the shocks off. I think it comes with new shock mounts for the new shocks. I can actually leave the, let's leave the shocks on there. Let's be cheeky. Let's leave the shocks on the shock tower and just unscrew the arm. Let's see how that works out for us. So obviously we've got reverse thread here on the chrome ones. So on the right side of the car, the chrome screw here is in fact reverse thread or left-hand thread. I'll get that out of the way. I'll put that to the side. This front shock here. I'll get this one out. I'll keep on the off-road sway bar for the moment, although I've got a feeling for on-road duties it's probably going to be too light, but you can buy them as an option tuning part, the sway bars. We'll go ahead now and we'll get this 2mm. And you notice I'm doing everything by hand. I just really prefer it. A lot of people will like to break out the electric screwdriver, but I really think it gives your build just, I don't know, a bit nicer feel, a bit more tactile. Like I said, I've rebuilt this buggy 2 or 3 times now, so all the threads are beautifully cut into the plastic. Everything torques up really, really nice. So what I'm undoing here is unscrewing the front shock tower, and it's pretty much just 4 bolts. 4 bolts, like so. And the new carbon fibre piece, the new carbon fibre looks amazing. And it looks about 4 to 5mm thick, really heavy duty stuff. Put out these screws aside, because when I turn it back into a buggy, you can be bet I just do the same thing exactly in reverse. Here we go. Get those front shocks out of the way. Keep them on the shock tower. And that's what I mean about saying that it's really easy to work on. There's the front shock tower. Beautiful high quality carbon fibre. No need to do any prep. There's nothing countersunk on there whatsoever. That should bolt straight there to the gearbox housings. And the screws look like they're in this bag here. So let me get this out and open with my knife. It's nice to obviously get practice at this, but this is the first time for me. I've not obviously done this conversion before, nor have I even seen any of these parts. In fact, I think that this will be the first kit in the world. We've got body mounts here. We've got bumper mounts. That's going to put the shocks over there. Put all the screws down. It does have the 5th body mount, which is cool. Okay. So I am in fact looking for a couple of 3mm screws, 4 of them precisely, to get the shock tower on. And there is 4 right there. Beautiful. Get this shock tower on. And because it was made by the manufacturer, you know it's absolutely going to be a perfect fit. Would have all been made from the original CAD drawings of the vehicle. All within the factory tolerances that the HR1's famous for. There we go. I'm just doing them up evenly. I don't want to just go too hard in case something's crooked or not seating properly. Being new screws, I could have put a drop of assembly grease on them just to help them a little bit, but like I said, the threads have been nicely cut into these gearbox housings, so it's going together really nice. Here we go. And with this conversion, I shouldn't actually need to take the gearbox off of the chassis or anything. There we go. Torque that up nicely. Just work my way around now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And go back to the first one, just to double check. Look at that is rock solid. Carbon fibre shock tower looks a little bit alien now after seeing it in Buggy spec. Well, I suppose I can go ahead now and put the camber link straight back on. The roll center adjustment, I suppose that's open to interpretation and tuning. Let's get that. Being an on-road car, we'll start it in the second highest hole here. We'll go for the longer link, give it a more neutral sort of setting. Don't want it too aggressive on initial build if we can help it. There we go, we'll put this camber link in, and at least then the front end will be held together. Go for the same hole. Second from the top on the long link. And there's plenty of adjustment here for roll center, and roll center when you've got a lot of traction is a really key adjustment. Raising and lowering the roll center on the front can really change the characteristics and the handling of the vehicle. Okay, got our front shock tower on. Let's put on our arm mounts. So here we have, once the arm mounts are on, I suppose then I can put the bumper bar on. And with the bumper bar, here we go. I see what they've done. We've got these little blanking plates here I've got in my finger, and that should stop the arms from getting crushed, I imagine. As we do them up, just having a look here. Yep. Okay. Providing us the clearance. These dots here be facing forward. 398. All right. Let's see what we can do here. Like so. And that locates the shocker really nice and far out. Giving it plenty of clearance, like so. I'll come back after and put the nuts in here. So later on I'll put the nuts on in here, but like I said, I just want to do a bit of a test fit first and make sure that I'm actually headed in the right direction as far as getting everything fitted up before I go too far with the build. I've got this one here. Got these shorter screws that I used on that side. Nice little alloy plate they include there. And that spaces the carbon out from the rest of the build. There we go. Super tight tolerance there, those screw heads. Really locking against each other. And that's going to provide all the support you need. Again, I will put the locking nuts in there later. They will go down on those threads. But essentially we're just going to dummy it up, if you can say that, to make sure that we're assembling everything in the right order. Okay, so I'm going to go now and take the front bumper assembly off. You can see here how much work this poor little buggy has done over its time. 2.5 mil. Nice big 4 mil threads here in the gearbox case holding this one together. The knurling on this 9 steps hex wrenches is amazing. It's so nice and grippy. They're absolute pleasure to use. Get the old front bumper bar off. We can get the new front bumper bar in there. And that should just offer straight in. Like so. Just like that. And that should be keeping the... I can put these screws back in here now. And what that does, I know it looks like a bit of a weird angle, but that does actually help keep the body post straight now. Put the gearbox screws back in. Like so. Oops, I've had a... That's what you get for not checking your tools properly before you start the build. There we go. Torque that up. Beautiful. Front bumper bar in situ. Like I said, it looks a bit crooked, but it's actually going to be sitting nice and flat now. There is kick up on the front because you want the body posts to be pointing up 90 degrees angle. So that's really cool. Talking about body posts, here we go. So we put these ones in here. They're saying to put it in narrow. Got these big chunky 4 mil threaded screws in here. Big body posts for big bodies. 8 mil, I think, in diameter, as opposed to the, when we run tent scales, so used to 5 and 6 mil. Nice little The plastics on these HR1 kits are amazing. Really nice quality, full of fiberglass. Now obviously once you get your final body fit on, you'll cut these posts down to fit your exact body. And I look forward to actually finishing the body and stuff with you guys on another episode. We'll fit up a Biddy Design body, 8 scale GT8 body for this. So it'll really look the part. Oops. Just making sure that the body holes actually line up, like so. Get this screw in there. And so far I haven't had to do any filing or grinding or machining, which is a sign that it's a really good fit up. Fantastic. I'll put now these are guides for the foam, because the foam will sit on over the top like so. However, I'm not going to put the foam on yet because I want to put the shocks on first to make sure I can get at the lower shock mounting hardware. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish off these support mounts here, left and right. Now that it's got a body post, I can actually do it upside down. I can sit on the body post like a little mount, making life a little bit easier. Definitely looks less like a buggy every minute. Here we go. Got that one. Let's get this one in here. I love working on 8 scale stuff. It's just nice and it's, I suppose it's meaty, if you can say that. There you go. Good, isn't it? Look at that. Looking very awkward. That's all right. Beautiful. Just double check. Then when it comes time, this one should fit on here like so. Look at that. Straight on to the pre-cut. Oh, now it's there. We may as well leave it until we need to. So the next part of the puzzle is you'll have to put this one on. And then that gets screwed straight there to the shock tower, which is good. It means I can take these ones off again now that it's secured. Let me take these ones off. Now I know that that goes over there. Perfect. And of course we've got the third body mount on the front, which goes through the shock tower. Looks to go something like this, I dare say. Is that right? If I can get that on there. I've actually got to take the off-road body post off, which I haven't done yet. There you go. And that's sitting up nice and straight. Looks like I don't have to take that one off at all. That's a bit cheeky. I need a 4. One of these screws here. Put that one in there now. There you go, and we've got our third body mount for the front. And what that does, it saves you cracking your body shell at your front wheel arches, and make sure all the downforce produced by the front of the body goes through the shock tower. pressing down on the springs, pressing the tyres into the road. Look at that, the third body post. The other two here, we've got the bumper foam on. Starting to look like a touring car. Like I said, once I get the shocks on, I'll be more happier to go forward. That's going to screw there, and everything is going to be solid as a rock. Beautiful. Okay, so I think that's the front done. Look at that. It's really good. All right, and that took what, 20 minutes? All right, so let's do exactly the same at the rear end. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to unbolt the bottom of the shocks. Take the reverse thread out. Like so. Take this one out. Might be a little bit trickier with the wing mount, or might not be. Let's have a look. These things are engineered so well, I can't see it taking more than 5 minutes to get apart. That's the thing with these competition buggies, they're so serviceable. They have to be, because to keep them going, you really have to make sure that you keep the maintenance up to them. And if you don't, that's when you're likely to suffer a DNF. 2mm, that driver and the wing mount. Oh, that feels so nice. Got my 5.5mm little wrench here. And because you work on it so much, that's why you really come to appreciate the quality hardware. Last thing you want to be dealing with is stripped screws and threads that feel horrible. Wrecks your tools, wrecks the screws. There we go, look at that. It's flying apart. Oh, get my little nut out of there. Like so. Undo the camber link. 2.5mm. So far we've used about 3 tools for this whole job. Get this big buggy wing out of the way. This will really be a defining moment in the build. Converting it, I'll put this, see if I can use it like I did on the front. I'll put it to the side there. Be careful not to lose my dog bone. Like so. Camber link on this side. There we go. Beautiful. Get the dog bone out of the way. And it should be just 2 more screws now, holding 4 more screws holding the shock tower onto the gearbox. There you go. The rear end should be a simpler build because of the length of bumper bar and stuff. That said, we are going to have to deal with a whole big body mount that goes on the back, and I'm not too familiar with it. But let's get the shock tower on first. That can be a later problem. There we go. 1 more screw, and then the whole rear should just about come off this buggy. If we can even call it that anymore. I think once this comes off, we can effectively call it a GT. And so far it's taken about 25 minutes. There we go. Get this off. Like so. Look at that, the whole rear end. We'll put that to the side. We'll keep that with the buggy parts. There we have, look at that big, geez, luckily I've kept it pretty clean. You can see there, it's probably not a bad way to rebuild it actually. Suspension moves beautifully and free, really good nick. Alright, now we can start adding parts. How about we start adding the shock tower. 9.7, stick that on there. Beautiful big bit of carbon. Here we have the hardware. Bag upon bag. Got the lower arm hardware right here. That's the other thing with this pit mat, it has little dividers on it. Keeps it really nice. Here we go. Little carbon arms. This is what's going to hold the shocks on. And again, we've got our nuts in situ, our spacers. Go ahead and I'll do the same thing. I won't put the lock nuts on until final assembly. Make sure I have in fact built this buggy right. This GT. Can't help myself. There we go. Get that carbon arm in there. Nearly lost a nut. There we go. Okay, get that arm on there. I can see how much wider out the shock is going to be mounted out. Right here near the hub, that's beautiful. That's going to give such a good on-road feel. Such a simple little engineering. Classic HR1. Just simple engineering to achieve a fantastic performance with quality components. Look at this carbon hardware. Hard anodized spacer. There we go. Get this one in. There you go, good. Look at that. We've got the rear arm plates on. And go ahead now, put the shock tower. Offer the shock tower up. I'm just having a look at the body mount here, how that mounts, but it seems to mount pretty much independent of the gearbox whatsoever. So I've got 4 screws. Let's have a look exactly what I've got. Because I think I'm just going to need these 2. And they'll go right in here. There we go. We've got the rear shock tower on. And then that means I can put my camber links on. Then we can start working on the body post. Can't believe how good this fits. I mean, I'm not surprised, but just screws straight up exactly like it was meant for. You would know that this was never meant to be a GT car. GT8E. Put my dog bone back in. Here we go. I dare say after this it's going to need some final setting up. I'll go 1 hole lower on the rear, usually run a slightly higher roll center on the front on an on-road car. Looking forward to giving HR1 the feedback. Get the team dialed in on the setup. Here we go. It's It's really good how you can just utilize this. And once you practice at it, realistically, it'd probably take you like 10 or 15 minutes to do this conversion, because you'll have the shocks done, you'll have the sub-assemblies ready. It's really just going to be 6 screws front and rear and you're done. 4 screws for the shock towers and 4 screws for the shocks themselves. 8 screws. Yeah, looking good. That's the rear end. Alright, let's have a look see now at the body mount hardware. Go open its bag up. Just going to move the chassis out the way for a little second. Get the bag out the way. Fully adjustable body mount, of course, because you'll be able to go up and down, because there's a myriad of bodies that will actually fit on this car. So that is going to mount something like that, I reckon. So let's have a look here. I reckon exactly that. There we go. And it's going to lock on with a nut and bolt by the look of it too. 2mm driver, please sir. Where did I put it? M3 nut. Like so. Yeah. Another M3 nut. Should be the same on this side. Just making sure now, getting it all in situ before I actually go much further, because if I've made a mistake, I want to be able to get it out as quickly as possible. And usually when I'm doing a build like this where I don't have absolute clear instructions, I'll generally use the shorter screws first, leaving the longer screws as you go along. That's not always right, but you can always tell when the screw's too short. You can't always tell when it's too long. Get that one done. This is heavy duty. We're just going to take 3 kilos bouncing on this lid here. Look at that. That's impressive. That's an impressive bit of kit. So I think that this will be threaded in through there, like so. Again, using the shorter screws. So, get that body mount. Looking good, nice solid body mount. Then we've just got our body posts. And that's really going to determine what kind of body you are running. You know, I mean, you probably want to mount it out as wide as possible. And then you've got these little locking screws here, so full adjustable height on your body post setup. So we'll just mount it flush for the moment without having a body on. Now we'll just do it up so it rests. like so. We don't want to strip it. Get this one done. And we have 4 body posts. Well, 5 body posts, sorry. And then I suppose it's a matter of doing up the shocks. And the shocks are probably going to be the longest part of the build, but you only have to build them once. There we go, look at that. We've got body posts. And of course you've got these body post stoppers here. And you just secure those with there's a little 2mm screw here, or in fact just use body clips. I prefer usually just use body clips so you can quickly change the height of your body mounts. That is perfect. So front and rear shock towers are on, body mounts are on. Look at this. It is now no longer a GT. This, my friends, sorry, no longer a buggy. This, my friends, is in fact a GT, fully fledged. All right, next part we're going to have to do is build the shocks. So this can take a little while just by itself. So I've got the front ones here. Now the kit doesn't supply you with any shock oil, so any shock oil will do. It does come with springs though. What are they? I don't know, but they are mighty stiff, which is what you need. Hard anodized shocks, beautifully machined. Looks like we'll be using a diaphragm or bladder style assembly. We'll just get this bag open and we can get into the O-rings. Here we go. And we've got our shock ends, our shock shafts, beautiful, big, thick, and they give 3 sets of pistons, front and rear. I'll see if I can open them up and tell you what the pistons are. Nice big bore 16mm damper units. So I've got 2 6-hole by 1.2, beautifully embossed on there. 6-hole by 1.3, 6 by 1.4. There you go, so it gets 3 levels of damping. I'm going to go 6 by 1.2 in the front and 6 by 1.3 in the rear. Nice and firm on this car to cope with the firm springs. Keep in mind this car is going to weigh in excess of 3 kilos, 3.5 kilos, so it's quite a heavy vehicle. Get the shock shafts out and the hardware. Now if you have built a shock lately, you know exactly what the go is. There we go. Let's walk you through building these beautiful HR1 GT shocks. I've got the front ones here. Got the diaphragms or bladders, whatever you would like to call them. Give yourself a clean working area. Got our beautiful pistons. Got a washer there. So I'm going to put the washer, I'm going to put the piston. Now these are front ones, so these are 1.2. Then I'm going to put the nut. I'm going to get my shock pliers and going to do the nut up. Now it's a nylock nut. Need a 5mm wrench for that. Not the most common size, but generally on any little 4-way wrench. Using my soft jaw pliers. Now what I want to do is I want to do it so the piston isn't locked but isn't sloppy. So I want it to rotate smoothly while not working its way loose. Perfect. No need to polish these. Look at the beautiful finish on these shock shafts. Absolutely amazing. High gloss mirror finish. Make sure you put the same piston left and right. unless you're doing a asymmetric setup. Oops. So put the washer, put the piston, and put the recess side up. Then put the nylock nut in there, like so. Get your soft jaw pliers, hold on to the thread, then get your 5mm like so. Beautiful. There we go. Now I've got my XTR shock grease here, rubber O-ring grease, because I like to rebuild the cartridge with as much lubrication as possible. I'm going to put a little bit in the shock, coat the O-ring, nice liberal coating. One O-ring goes in, then I'm going to put the shock guide, shock bush, then another O-ring goes in. Again, just coating it as we go. Then put in the last guide, and that is stepped, so that'll only go one way. Then we've got a O-ring that's going to go over here. We'll put a little bit on the thread, and then we will do the bottom. I'll just locate that. Okay, so let's do that again. So a little bit of grease, and I don't mind using my fingers for this. I don't like to use sharp tools around O-rings if I can help it. A little bit of grease, an O-ring, then put the straight guide in, a little bit of grease again, next O-ring again, then we can put the shock guide on. It's stepped, so it will only go one way, like I just demonstrated then. Will not let you put it on backwards. Put the bigger O-ring on to seal the cartridge, and then we'll put the cartridge cap on. There we go, and that's how I would build these cartridges. Then this inside the center of the shock here is all nice and greased. I haven't preloaded the cartridge. I haven't torqued down the O-rings. I'm going to go ahead now and feed the shock shaft through, and it'll push out a little bit of grease if you've done it right, like so. A little bit of grease like that, and put that back into your tub. Whoops. And that's what happens when you try and do it on camera. You make a mess every time. Then you can get your, again, get your shock pliers, hold the shaft, and that's why we use soft jaw pliers, so we don't run the risk of causing any mischief to the shock shaft surface. The last thing we want to do is score or scratch that, because that is going to tear the O-rings straight away, and of course it's going to leak. Okay, I don't have an overall measurement yet, but I will always do that once I have preloaded the O-rings. And I like to preload the O-rings before I put oil in, because I can feel it. So you want it to feel smooth, but you don't want it to feel bound up. It's a very tactile thing, like so. That is it, beautiful. A little tiny bit of resistance there, but beautifully smooth. Then I'm going to take my verniers, and they don't have to be fancy ones. Now I don't have a measurement I'm going for, but I am trying to make them same left and right. So I don't care what the measurement is, but I'll just put it in here, take a measurement, double check it. I'll lock it up, double check it, and that's going to be my measurement and base starting point, which in this case is 19.2. Beautiful. Okay, same with this one. Okay, offer the shock through, get a little bit of grease off the end, give it a little bit of a wipe, can start doing up the cartridge, get the shock end on. Big heavy duty plastics here, it's like a 4mm shock shaft I think. Has to be strong. Again, grab it with your soft jaw pliers, do it up. No need to use any fancy tools. I don't like to put things inside the bottom of the plastics because you can, I've seen people wind Allen keys and stuff in there, that does stretch them. There we go. Then I'll go ahead and do my preload. Might take just a little bit, just to get it right. Beautiful. Left and right will feel exactly the same, which is what we want. Then I'll measure it. Now I saved the measurement last time, locked it up. It's a little bit short, so I've got to go in maybe another half a turn, like so. There you go, look at that, perfect, spot on. Gonna go ahead now and put the shock ball in. Gonna put that in the shiny side. You can see here on the plastic, let me zoom in. You can see here on the plastic, let me clear the, see it's shiny here as opposed to that side. So this is the side that you want to press the ball in from. That will be slightly larger, that's the tool side, rather than this side. And all plastic ball cups and joints are the same. So you place the ball in there and you'll get your JP RC pliers and press it in there very nicely, and it should just click like so. That is in there. And same when you press it out. When you press it out, you want to make sure that you press it out from the matte side, not the shiny side. Go ahead and put that in there, and that will ensure that your plastics last a long time. You're not stretching them unknowingly and not making it harder for yourself. They should just pop together really easy. I'm going to take this opportunity now to secure the O-ring. I'm just double checking that. I've got a feeling that this O-ring is in fact for the shock preload collar, like so. That way the shocks won't be, the preload collar won't be loose, it won't rattle loose while you're driving. A very nice touch there by HR1 crew for doing that. Just going to grab it ever so gently there, just wind it all the way up. Alright, there you go. So the large O-ring is for the preload collar. There we go. That way you know your ride height is going to be accurate every time. It's not going to unwind. Especially with on-road and nitro buggies in particular, they can really, nitro applications really. And when you're winding these on, you make sure you want to unwind them so they click. Like so, and then you know it's right to wind them up. Very fine thread, and you shouldn't need any tools or anything for this. If you can't do it by hand, chances are something is not right or it's cross-threaded. There we go. Beautiful shocks. Then we're just left with our bladders, our caps, and our shock bushes. So now we're going to bleed it. So I've got some 700 weight oil here. I'm going to go ahead as a base starting point. Pull the piston down. hopefully you can get it all done in one big bubble, so you don't have the champagne effect in there. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put this to the side now so I can bleed up the other one. So compress it in about 30% of the travel. Put your shock oil in like so. Pull it down once, one nice big bubble. I'll top it up again, and then hopefully, if I'm nice and smooth here, there will be just a couple of little bubbles in there like so, and look at them come to the surface. On new built shocks, you're always going to get air in there, but yeah, when you rebuild them at the racetrack or you're actually just changing oils, that's the best way to do it. Best way that I've found anyway, and you can just really bleed it in one go. Come back to the other one. It's been sitting like 30 seconds. Gonna give it a quick. There you go. Gonna put the bladder in. Gonna make a mess. Gonna put the bladder in now. Slide it in. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to compress the shock while keeping my finger on the bladder until the piston nut touches the bladder. I'll feel that, like so. Then I'm going to take my finger away and put the cap on. I'm going to wind it back until it clicks like so. Wind it up. It's a tiny little air bleed hole in the top there. There we go. Quickly check it over. Make sure that I don't have too much rebound. So quickly. Like so, there we go. That is a built shock. Nice and smooth. Oh, it's firm, but that's what we're going to need for on-road. We don't have too much rebound, we don't have too much pack. Beautiful. Put on the big beefy spring and spring retainer. You can see now why I did all the way up on the preload collar just so I could get the spring on. Last thing is the shock bush at the top. You don't want to use tools here if you can help it, because you're just going to risk scratching it. Like so, just pop it in with your finger. There we have one built shock. Okay, now with the magic of Hollywood, I'm going to do the rest. Okay, here we are back at it. Front shocks over here are done, rear shocks over here are done. There we go, four beautiful high performance shocks ready to go on the HR1 GT8E. All right. Keep banging and crashing. Now let's get these shocks on and in situ. I am just having a look here for the shock mounting hardware, and I reckon that it's going to be the longest screws in the packet. Let's go for the biggest hole. We're going to use the upper shock mount from the Buggy. The upper shock mount from the Buggy. That's all right. The standoffs. So that's a nice easy thing to do. Take them straight from Buggy and put them straight onto like so. I should have probably checked that before, but of course there's no upper shock mounts in this kit, which doesn't surprise me. Only takes 10 seconds to change anyway. Here we go. That's the rear ones done. So let's put the rear mounts on. put that to the side like so. Bring the chassis over. Here we have the beautiful shock tower there. Okay, let's go for that one there. Do that up. And I should be able to now put the shock mount in place like so. I think I need a 3mm, this one here will do very nicely. Put the lower mount on. Like so. Tiny bit awkward to get my finger in there. Like that. There we are. That is the shock mount on. Oh, feels beautiful. These guys are amazing. Really, really nice. And straight to GT8 Racer. Let's do that one up. Just going to use pliers over here to nip this one up. Like that. Really nice geometry there. Look at that. Look how far out on the arm it's mounted. I know it's hard to get on camera. Wow, that feels so nice. Plush. Yet with amazing control. This one. I've gone the second hole down. Get the standoff in. Like so, get the top nut on there. Where's my 5.5mm gone? I've got that excited. I've whipped myself into a frenzy. That doesn't happen very often. There we go. And I've got my 3mm bolt. Like so. You can see the ride height already. It's coming into a play. Get this nut started. Coming in behind here like so. The thing is not helping is that I've got shock oil all over my hands, of course. Not posing a problem to the 9 steps toolkit and knurling. Pliers. Here we are. That is the rear done. Look at that, look how wide that is. That looks beautiful. It's meant to be. Let's get the fronts on. So I need to take the top standoffs from the Buggy shock towers, just here. I just have to remember second hole and second hole when I put it back together. Here we go. Obviously you'd be more organised at this, but this is the first time I've seen any of this hardware on this GT8E conversion, and I hope that it's actually made your build busy. If you're watching me doing the build yourself, following along at home or wherever you are, I hope that it's sort of helped. But it's actually gone together, considering I'd never seen any of it, it's gone together amazingly smooth. The shock tower out the way. Might go for a more extreme angle on the front there, because I can. Like so. Get the front shocks on. Front shocks with the 1.2 hole piston. 6 by 1.2. The rear's copping the 6 by 1.3. Generally running a little bit firmer setup on the front than the rear. Four-wheel drive cars sometimes running same front and back, but really looking to get these front tyres to bite in at every opportunity. Got my other front shock here. Butter smooth, those top mounts. The plastics in the HR1 are next level. Do yourself a favour. Here we go. I'll stick this one on here like this. Like so. And this is where I thought the bumper bar might have posed a problem, but it actually hasn't. It's going to slip right in there. I thought getting these screws in would have been impossible. That said, I'm making it look awkward. Just can't get this nut started. And I've dropped it. Here we go, let's try again. Let's try for another angle. If first you don't succeed, try again. This one feels way more natural. He says as he drops it again. No, I didn't. Just got to get it started. It's always the simplest things that can sometimes let's see if I can't get like this. Let's just go old fashioned. Offer it with a mechanical thread if one of one with pliers. Well, that's got it, of course. And I'll get my other one out there that I dropped. And we can put that straight on the other side. And then we can call this one done. All we've got to do is put some wheels on. And we are ready to go GT8E-ing. And considering we've rebuilt shocks and everything, I think you'll agree that it's been an absolutely phenomenal build. Rather quick. And to change it back, I think I'll time myself. To change it back to a buggy, I think we'll take it, now that the shocks are built and everything, will probably take about 20 minutes to go from full on-road to off-road. There we go, look at that. Now I can put this one on, and that's going to lock it in place over here. And again, I can just use my 2mm Allen key. Get these going in. And that's going to keep this body mount really, really secure. Other screw. All we have to do now is fit some wheels and a body and we're right to go. There we go. Got the body on there. Luckily, I've got myself some GRPs hanging around. Let's put it on. Straight onto the same wheel hexes. Look at that. See, that's why I put the wheel nuts on, so I wouldn't lose them. And lose them, I haven't. There we go, that's the front done. Get the rear done. Oh, did that up tight, didn't I? That was a bit silly. Gonna have to give it a bit of a wheel alignment and do the cambers, no doubt. But apart from that, I'd say that that's done. Really, really enjoyed doing that. Like I said, I love working on this buggy. I didn't, in fact, have to modify or adjust anything to fit. It just did. There's beautiful clearance around the wheels and the damper units. We've got a beautiful ride height of about 15 mil, which is probably what we want. It feels nice and supple. I say we're good to go. There you go. That is fantastic. So I am Brett from Hearns Hobbies, and you have just watched me turn the HR1 buggy, the humble little ready to race, almost ready to race buggy, into this GT8E touring car. Speed basher, whatever you want it to be. Let's go on road and have some fun. I'm Brett from Hearns, and this is now the HR1 GT8E. Thanks for watching.